and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. Today is going to be an interesting one. My timeline is absolutely flooded with the elephant in the room, and I'm going to see how long we can ignore it. So we're going to start today off. I wish there was poker to talk about. Somehow the poker world seems to have stopped. Everybody got too rich or too poor.
Yeah.
Overnight, I think.
Who got too poor? I feel like our community probably did pretty well.
I don't think.
Really?
I don't think so.
There's not a correlation between poker and
Bitcoin did really well.
Yeah.
Bitcoin soared.
I think people lost a lot on maybe Kamala, but their bags pumped, their crypto bags pumped, so they probably came out ahead.
I don't think they lost a lot. I think that overall.
What do you think they lost then?
Yeah,
I think
I'm
overall,
waving as one of these people.
I think overall the community probably lost small.
Wow. How so?
Well, I don't think this was like I don't think there was a lot of momentum behind Kamala. I don't think like the poker community was super bullish on a Dem win. I also just don't think they were super bullish on Trump at like what may have seemed like bad prices. He's been a betting favorite for 18 months.
Yeah.
Or so.
Right.
Okay, so when you mean lost, you mean like as far as like bets on the presidential race.
I would imagine.
I thought you were referring to like actual like money over the next 3 or 4 years or what have you.
No, poker got rich.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what I was saying.
Poker community
what I
got
was
rich
referring
off
to
of
as
the
well,
orange
yeah.
man
Right.
winning.
Sorry, I misconstrued what you were saying.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, nobody knows what the fuck the next year to 4 years.
Right.
If
to 8
anyone
years
was
is gonna
trying to
look
be
like.
sharp on the ARB spot, that could happen with getting Kamala plus and then getting Trump after the Iowa poll came out. They probably also have money in crypto, which is doing very, very well at the moment.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at.
The ARBs were really small and really
They are very
tedious.
small.
I don't know that a lot of people.
It's a lot of work for a little bit of money.
It depends when you got her, though. If you got her at 2-1,
It's not that easy. You make it seem like because two markets exist that are at odds with each other that you can just naturally ARB them. But like that wasn't the case. Kalshi and
you can't do it for a lot of money. Like.
Right, Kalshi and Polymarket were different prices the whole time, but like the only way that you could really ARB is if you were able to get it offline, in which case now you have to get somebody to accept the bad odds or take the middle, and if they're middling now, the ARB spot isn't really all that big. Right, if there's a 6-point differential between Kalshi and Poly, and you want to bet somebody peer to peer, they're going to want the middle, which is just going to be like a 3-point differential.
Well,
now you're not really getting much.
It just depends on how much money you're trying to do it for. Because if, like in my case, I don't have 6 figures on both sides and things along those lines, but you could still find ways to get on Poly and get on Kalshi.
Right, you take the better price on Kamala on Poly, and then you take the better price on Trump on Kalshi, and if you do 100,000 both ways and you get 6% off of that, you get 6%.
No. That's what I'm saying. You couldn't do that.
Why not?
The market
Because
on,
like
on Kalshi was too tiny.
The books on you could buy up the order books for like $3,000 on Kalshi.
It depends.
Not $3,000.
Yeah,
Like the entire book?
Yeah, last night I was watching it move for like $3,000 all night long.
Like some percentage points.
Yeah, but like that matters, and if it's that sensitive, you're not going to get the full. You're not going to get anywhere close to the.
No,
full.
you have to put in limit orders and help and get your orders filled like throughout like the past week or so. You can't do it all at once, of course, right? Because the volume is too low. But if you could do it over the course of a week or 2 weeks,
I just know a lot of smart people with a lot of fucking money that didn't want anything to do with it.
Because it's a hassle and it's like you're right. It's
anybody who can like pick up a free 6% on a large figure is going to be happy to take the hassle.
I mean, it's a hassle to maybe like if it is free 6%, yes, but like you're gonna do all this to hope that the line stays where it is over the course of a week, where it could just move on you, and then like you're not getting the ARB that you think you're getting.
it's interesting just because
You're echoing my sentiment for what it's worth.
the
yeah.
best spot that I got, which was not for a lot of money, I was just kind of testing something to see if it worked the way I thought it did, was getting popular vote for Kamala on Polymarket because it was a better price, and then on Call Sheet getting Trump for a popular vote, and the difference there was 5%. It wasn't for that
but you
much
did it
money.
for a small amount of money.
I did it for a small amount of money. Correct.
You could have moved. I mean, it would have been only a point or two maybe, but like if you were doing it for large sums, you could have probably moved the Trump line against you a little bit. On
As in,
Poly.
instead of getting 5%, you're getting 3%.
Maybe 4, like something. Like, but yeah, it's a nuisance, and I imagine. I don't know. I didn't use other platforms personally, so I don't know what their KYC is like.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that Call Sheet probably has stricter KYC with Americans.
Call Sheet definitely does.
You're probably going to get taxed on top of it. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's messy.
Yeah.
It's
say the
not.
least.
It's not.
No, they'll send you a like a 1099 or something if you
Cash
make,
out.
if you make money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish I would have put more money where my mouth is. I
Go on.
was so confident, like after the incident with Senor Trump, that I was like, "Oh man,
You
this is
can't bet
over."
then though. You couldn't bet after the assassination
But
attempt.
I was like so sure, like even going up
Of
to the
course.
election, I was just like, "It's
of course,
over.
the man just took
Can
a
we-
fucking bullet for America.
No, I mean even up
And-
until like,
but no,
2 days
but
before the
gives
election. Like,
yeah, I got to give Guapo credit because he was literally unwavering in what he said.
I
He
didn't
said
think it would be
he said
close.
he's going to win, and you never once
Can we
went
look
away
at
from
the
that from
at
that
the
day
market?
until now.
Like on Poly, there was market for the entire duration.
Yeah.
Like what was Trump at after the assassination attempt? What was he at?
I
you can
don't
look at
I don't know. I'm sure we can bring it up.
Right.
But what I'm
There's
saying,
a graphic.
I'm
is
not
what-
telling Guapo he shouldn't have bet. I'm saying you just can't bet like right after that event because there's an
The odds would be.
I mean,
yeah.
this
I would
was a-
imagine he was
There's
probably
a
like
huge spike.
yeah, he was probably like a 2.5 to 1 favorite or a
At
3 to 1
least, yeah.
favorite.
He probably went up to 70 or 75%
This is
right after that
This
happened.
is why I wanted
Then
the
went back
picture. I want the picture. The picture will tell you
the
what he
picture
was
will
at
tell you. Yeah, exactly.
versus saying what you
Just
think.
go to
the picture-
polymarket.com
No, I
and
got it.
then
I'm just poking here.
Anyways, like that's kind of what happened with the Iowa poll before the election happened, was that Kamala did really well in that poll, which overreacted the market, and then she became a favorite on Poly for a very small amount of time.
Mm-hmm. On
And
Call
then-
Sheet too. Maybe it was on Call Sheet. Maybe
I
she
think it was only on Call Sheet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
if it
on
became
Poly it was closer than
but
College. She was
Poly, she
53,
probably got
47.
close to even, very close to even.
That's not.
No, I know. I'm trying to
Oh,
find
okay.
out what exactly I should.
Wow,
be
you-
doing.
Okay, click on U.S. elections, and then who will be? Yeah, click on U.S. elections, and then U.S. They go winner.
It was the first thing actually. It's at 96 to 1% because Trump won.
Okay.
Okay,
Well-
go back up, and click on presidential election winner. Yeah. Okay, now scroll down. Now, yep, scroll down a little bit, and then yeah, so you can see where it is. So you see July, right when you
That
can
big spike in
that
July.
big spike in July right. You're seeing that blue line is Kamala, and that's why she's flatlined because she's not running yet, and then she enters the race.
Biden
But
dropped
you
out.
see the little spike.
You can scroll over, Guapo. It'll tell you the number. Oh, that's strange.
Interesting.
Anyway, it's cropped off on the side, but it looks like it's close to just shy of 80%. So it looks like he's like 75% at that point.
Right.
So yeah, like you don't want to take him at 3 to 1, but
And then the debates happened, some other stuff happened, which brought the
Mhm.
market back down. And then we kind of see here, like Trump was kind of a slight favorite. And then the Iowa poll happened, which then kind of flipped it for a small amount of time. And then I guess smart money just hammered down on Trump when that was the case. And then last night was just a ravaging.
Yeah.
I don't know that was when smart money. Well, I don't know. It depends like who you're qualifying as smart money, but there was a video put out yesterday by who put this
Is he a French
video?
fellow or Russian? I can't.
It's about a French fellow.
Freddie.
Let's see. It was put out by Domer. I'm not sure who that is, but anyway, this guy's a legend apparently. They were talking about him a lot on Market Mania yesterday. His name's Freddie, or quote unquote Theo. He's the largest political bettor in the world and has done an on-camera interview to explain his $40 million bet on Trump. So if you guys remember, we said that a bunch of whale money came into Polymarket that moved the line
Drastically,
tremendously.
yeah.
A killer whale.
Well, whale doesn't mean the same
I know,
outside of
just messing.
poker. Outside of poker just means like a large, a large.
Yeah, whale is
single-
cool.
yeah,
Whale
single
is
investor.
cool outside of poker.
It just means you have a lot of money.
You
Yeah.
give a lot of money, you move a lot of money, you move markets, all that kind of stuff.
And whale hate in poker. And whale.
But yeah, he's going to explain very quickly in this first minute and a half why he hammered so hard on Trump.
A few days ago, a mysterious trader called French Trump Whale made headlines internationally for allegedly tampering with predictive betting markets to give Donald Trump an edge in the polls. I tracked down the mysterious French trader to ask him why he bet $40 million of his own money on a Trump victory, and to ask him whether this is an ideological play or if he's just keen on making money.
I'm not supporting Trump. I'm just observing that Trump has a 90% chance of winning these elections and a 65% chance of winning the popular vote. That's why I bet on both. The polls are really, really different from the odds in the predictive markets. It calculates something totally different. One is calculating what are the intentions of the people to vote. The other are bets made by real people with real money about who they believe the winner will be. My name is Theo. I'm a French trader and investor. In August, I started to realize that media outlets are making the same mistakes they made in 2016 and 2020, underestimating the Trump vote. Why? Because again, it's underestimating the shy Trump vote effect. I deep dive into the polls and I realized that most of the polls are definitely skewed to the advantage of Harris. I also read a lot about what we call the neighbor vote effect.
All right, so I think that in hindsight, it's pretty easy to recognize some of the speculation that the collective public was making to explain away why the predictive market was so far away from the polls. And part of it was due to this French man firing so hard on Trump. The notion was that, well, Dems can't really be as, or Dems won't be as involved in the predictive market or the betting markets as Republicans because they just have less crypto. So these markets are all crypto driven, both within the United States and elsewhere. And the notion is that more right-leaning people have crypto available to them, and therefore, like, they're more hard to fire on Trump. In hindsight, obviously, predictive markets are just undefeated, man.
They really are.
Like, it was just spot on, pretty much the whole way up until maybe close to the election, where it started to get closer to 50-50, and that might have been more of a reaction to you know, the FUD that was being spread around from the Iowa poll, and a lot of the top pollsters were kind of putting this race as a flip. But the sharp money for sure was basically saying that Trump was underpriced at 60%.
Like massively.
Yeah. And I mean, that largely proved to be true.
Yeah.
And I think, like, even watching it last night, there's so much recency bias. Like, I know I was watching Market Mania, and Bart was still buying Kamala at popular vote when she was like a 9-1 dog. I also fired on a couple long shots. I put a very small amount down, getting like, I don't know, 12-1 on her to win the election and 9-1 to win the popular. It was risking like $4,000 to win like 100 collectively between the two bets. And I think part of that is just because of what happened in 2020, where it was like the same scenario. It was just a red bloodbath.
What people were missing was the amount of votes that were left, right?
Yeah.
Because back in 2020, there were so many mail-in ballots, right? Because of COVID and what have you, that there was a lot of room for Biden to make up that ground, where this time around there wasn't enough room. It did, like, sure, there were outstanding mail-in ballots, but they were not going to be as, first of all, they were not going to be as heavily skewed towards Democrats as they were the last time, and there were less of them. So it just, there was not enough room for Kamala to make that comeback.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't betting out of any sort of sharpness. It was more so just
hope and a dream.
Not even really that. It's just like I don't know enough of what's going on in the inner workings, and enough of the projection sites had a path to win. So it's just like, okay, well, how much could I possibly be burning here?
Yeah,
getting these long odds.
Well, it's tough to say, but like these prediction markets are so they're so sharp. I think the sharp money is just always going to be there, and right at the end, they're usually right there. So when you see it go to like from like 90 to 95, 96, 97, it's almost a foregone conclusion. I think that 3% like is just free money for the people that want it. It's almost certainly not like 30 to 1. Like it's probably closer to like if it's saying 97.3, you're probably closer. The true odds are probably closer to like 100 or 200 to 1, and not 30 to 1.
Yeah, I saw people offering 100 to 1 last night before I went to bed, and I assumed that they were just like printing at that price.
And the reason it stays down to like that level is because people want those long odds, and so you have the few you fired or other people are firing, like I can get 30 to 1, let me take a shot, and it keeps it from going to 99.9,
yeah.
Right?
I think the biggest surprise for me was the popular vote, and not only the popular vote, but how well he did with the minority groups.
Yes.
Because I know Latinos, the Hispanic community, had a pretty big shift towards Trump, which I definitely did not expect.
That's, I kind of, we touched on it very briefly, and then we kind of glossed over it with like the Tony Hinchcliffe Trump rally thing and stuff like that. And, there was this big outcry of racism and everything else. And my whole point was not to judge the comedian's set. Like, whatever, you can feel it's racist, you can feel it's not. It can objectively be racist. I didn't even watch it that closely, so it's not my place to say. But the point was that I was trying to make was that people have accepted this aspect of Trump one way or the other, right? Like you're either for him or against him, and this particular talking point of his, I guess, like his approach with minority groups just is moot at this point, right? Like he can't possibly alienate people. He can't possibly alienate minority groups any more than he already has. So a bunch of like blue bleeding white men screaming that he's racist and you shouldn't vote for him when the minority groups that have already decided they are going to vote for him, it just creates a further divide, right? And it creates a louder rally cry where for everybody who views Trump as an oppressive racist, the minorities that are willing to support him and back him could just point to the left and say like, well, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're oppressing you just the same, telling you who you have to vote for and what's in your best interest. And they're being just as reductive. They're doing it in a very coy kind of way, right? At least this guy is upfront and honest. And he's saying like, well, we want to build a wall to keep the illegals out, but you're fine because you went through all of the right processes. Yeah. And, I was kind of talking to my friends about this last night. Like, I wasn't that surprised, to be quite frank.
About the minority shift?
No, not at all.
Wow.
I
definitely was.
Yeah, I wasn't either. Like, I get what you're saying, because it's like Trump has been in the political spotlight for, 10 years now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when the whole
initial
birther
run,
thing with Obama and so like everybody knows who he is. Like you said, everyone already has their opinion of him. So like what he says in the last couple months, not changing anybody's mind on who they think Donald Trump is.
Right. Running on a character assassination platform is just like, it felt like a losing cause from the beginning.
Yeah.
And to go further down that path, like when you're talking about the minority shift and everything like that, one of the big reasons why I wasn't surprised is because he empowered so many of those groups, even if it was through a disingenuous message. What I mean by that is he gave them a face to hate that may even resemble them a bit, but still feels like it's beneath them, right? So by turning everything into a border crisis, and by running on a platform that says, this country is our country, we need to be more, we need to have greater nationalism, we need to take greater pride in the four corners of this country and keep outsiders out. What he did was prop up a lot of those minority groups that are struggling. They can't make ends meet. They felt the effects of the last 4 years or maybe longer, whatever the case may be. And they feel disenfranchised and, left for dead. And what he basically did was give them an enemy to point their frustration at and put a face to it.
It's like where
It's divide and conquer.
It's I hear you. I understand that you guys are all struggling, and I'm going to make that all better, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of these illegals out in these swing states that are voting Democrat, that are plants, right? Like that was the narrative that they ran on, was these Haitians are in Ohio to go swing it from red to blue. And, the Mexican border is just wrought with crime and, illegals coming across, yada, yada, yada.
That was Elon's whole thing, was this is going to, if the Dems win, this is going to be the last election ever, because they're bringing in so many, immigrants in, and they're going to fast track them to citizenship, and they're all going to vote blue, and they're going to all be in swing states,
right.
And you're never going to have a chance.
Right. So they created FUD. They created fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the notion of being a minority in this country, and basically said, like, if you don't vote for me, then the other side is going to not acknowledge that there are two groups, not acknowledge that there's the group that did it the hard way and then the group that fast tracked and did it the easy way. They're just going to blend you all together, and you're all going to suffer for it. And I think people really rallied behind that. Like, especially since moving to Vegas, I've probably met more first and second generation immigrants out here on the West Coast than we see on the East Coast, because it's a little bit older over there, right? Like we're more third, fourth generation,
right,
at this point. So you meet a lot of especially like Asian immigrants that have moved to like California, Vegas, whatever, first generation, and one of the first things they talk about is how much hard work they put into the immigration process in doing it the right way, how much of a struggle it was to come here with nothing, pick themselves up by the bootstraps, go through the entire process of becoming a legal immigrant, starting a mom and pop shop of some sort, suffering through all of the hard times that come with trying to bootstrap a business from nothing. And now, as a second generation child of these immigrants, they're better off, and they're going to med school to be a doctor or whatever. And, it's a lot of success stories, and it filters for that. Same way survivorship bias filters in poker, right? Like for every one of them that made it, there's hundreds of others that couldn't cut it or couldn't get through the actual immigration process, were forced to leave or whatever else the case may be. But I think the big takeaway that I saw from that particular group, because across the board he swept, right? Like
absolutely
everywhere that you would think the narrative of Trump is a misogynist, a racist, a this, that, or the other, he just absolutely swept across the board, right? The Latino vote, the black vote, the young female vote, just swept it.
The young, well, it's very interesting. The young female vote, college educated versus non-college education is like absolutely split.
Yeah,
right,
fair.
But like where he did win, where the Democrats thought they maybe had an edge, was older
educated women,
older women, older suburban women.
Yeah,
right. They were gonna, they were gonna tell their husbands they're voting for Trump, and then they're gonna go in and actually vote for Kamala. They're gonna come out for her because of abortion, because of this and that, because of his character, and it just didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen, and that's why you saw him succeed like greatly in places like Bucks County, outside of Philadelphia. Like that's where Kamala needed to win, and she didn't.
Politics were never. I mean, obviously, I was 4 or less when this happened, but when you guys were my age, I suppose, it was never that both sides thought if the other person won, it was the fall of democracy. Or it was.
I think that narrative gets painted a lot, but not to this degree,
It's
because
been exacerbated.
yeah, like I think it was hyperbole in the past.
Now people like mean it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason they mean
They
it.
always frame it as this is the most important election of your life.
Of course,
But
and
that's something different.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if ever that were the case, this one could potentially fall into that category, or perhaps the first time Trump ran, it could have fallen in that category. But point is like, I doubt that's the case. I think what is being highlighted in this particular election is, again, much like 2016 when Trump ran against Hillary, this is very much an establishment versus anti-establishment type of narrative that's being portrayed, right?
Right.
And with how much turmoil there is in the world, there's a lot.
You to the establishment is what it is.
100% the turnout yesterday was the biggest middle finger in the world to the establishment. Swept the popular vote, swept the blue wall, won every battleground state necessary. Like, all of that was, the minority groups, the independents, everybody that could be swung red went red.
Right.
And that was absolutely a response to continually toting out an established politician that doesn't really run on too much of a different platform than the past, and doesn't really seem to be progressing towards any sort of significant change.
And the same thing happened in 2016, but now it's on a grander scale.
Exactly.
Right? It happened, but it didn't like fully happen because Trump was just like this guy, like, like he was out of left field, like coming in, and I think people weren't like fully on board with actually
the 2016 win was,
it was the tides turning. You could see.
Yeah,
that.
it was a curiosity vote.
Right. Exactly. Right.
But this time around, it's very different because a lot of things happen. And again, I'm not sharp on this type of stuff, but like, this is my opinion and observation. I think that like a lot of people so Biden got elected, in my opinion, mainly because the 4 years of Trump were tumultuous enough that people were just like, okay, like 4 was fine. It was a nice disruption.
A lot of things took place, like the COVID. Like if COVID never happened, Trump probably gets reelected. The fact that he was telling people not to use mail-in ballots, right? Go vote in person, and then overwhelmingly people voted.
I'm not sure.
Ballots, right?
Well, let me rephrase. I agree with what you're saying. If the Dems would have ran Biden without COVID. So if his opposition was Biden and COVID had never existed, I agree with you. I think Trump gets reelected.
Right, but if it's Bernie,
correct. If it's a candidate that also signifies change,
right,
and
exactly.
and is very much disruptive to Trump.
No, I agree.
Then I think it would have been a higher probability. Anyway, point that I'm getting at is I think there was enough disruption during the first term where he didn't really live up to the things he was running on. Like the big grandiose thing was, I'm going to build the wall. That never got off the ground. And there was a lot of ups and downs, but I think that there was enough people saw where it was like, okay, that was a good disruption to our political system for a minute. Now, we're in chaos. Let's go with an established character in Biden. And they did. And we had 4 years of that. And, he basically went senile on the job, right? in hindsight now, as we come out of that cycle into this one, and people are fed up again, they're looking for disruption again, I think Trump became a really viable option because in hindsight, not that much bad happened, right? He inherited Obama's economy, so things were relatively good for his 4 years whenever he was there. He had seemingly good working relationships with other world leaders, for better or for worse, whether he's in cahoots or anything along those lines, whatever. And then additionally, Biden inherits Trump's economy. So when shit started to steer south, it's very easy to point to the incumbent and say, we need change.
He inherited a global pandemic.
Right. And, you know, on the issue with, like, I know a lot of the left was heavy on the issue of abortion, and like, as a man, I'm very much like, this is out of my hands. I should not be deciding anything that you guys do with your body. Go nuts. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want you to tell me what to do with mine, and I don't want to tell you what to do with yours. But point is that where there's fear that Roe v. Wade will forever go by the wayside with Trump in office, the alternative was just a holding pattern, right? Bringing another Dem in was just a holding pattern to hope that we could outweight the old Republicans on the Supreme Court to retire, which may or may not have happened this term.
Yeah.
So it might have required an additional 4 years of, you know, it's a big parlay to create a long enough holding pattern where the blue side could actually potentially sway the Supreme Court again.
Well, it doesn't have to go through the Supreme Court, right? You can create a national law to legalize
Practically,
abortion.
though, do you think that's ever going to happen?
I mean, if you had a mandate like Trump has now, yeah, maybe. Like if they want to do like a national ban of abortion through the legislative process, they have a very good chance of being able to do that right now.
Interesting. I personally, I don't think that's going to happen based off of, like, I don't
think it's going to happen either. And
they polled it yesterday.
They're kind of backing off, saying they're going to do that. So like,
this used to be like a very 50-50 issue. Like if you polled the country, it was very much split. But I think
not for a long time. It was always been like 65-30.
Well, I was going to say yesterday they were showing polls that were upwards of like 68-32.
Yeah.
In favor of legalizing.
It felt 50-50, but it was always pretty heavily on the side of Roe versus Wade.
Yeah. Well, in any event, like I understand the fear there, and I understand the wanting to vote against that. I guess like practically though, it got suppressed because
it's the economy, stupid. It's always the economy, stupid. Everyone thought that that was going to be the win for the Democrats was the abortion issue, and at the end of the day, people vote with their wallets. They vote. They go to the grocery store and they see that the prices have doubled in the last 4 years, and they said, my wages have not gone up. I can't make rent. I can't live like this. I have to do something. Who's in office? Okay, I vote against them.
Yeah. That being said, this is the first year I've seen people's response to why they're voting the way they're voting not be that. But like that was the second reason. The number one reason was their threat to democracy.
That was wild. That was kind of wild.
Was it though?
I mean, yeah, I think so. You don't?
It just feels like everyone was saying that if the other person won, that they didn't want.
Right.
It was the fall of democracy.
I think it was I think it was a reflection of that tone.
Yeah.
I think Landon's spot on. I think that was the general narrative, and it's crazy to me.
This is like all social media, like all the big people from both sides are saying the exact same thing of like, if they win, you are screwed.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you both say these things?
That has been that's been my personal point of frustration throughout all of this, where it's like I have some slight bias where Republican or Democrat aside, like I just don't personally like Trump as a human being. I think he's a deplorable person, like
right,
personally. But I also don't think it's very extreme one way or the other. Because like I think where his obvious flaws are demonstrated to us day in and day out, I think the other side possesses a lot of those same flaws. They just do a much better job of hiding it.
It's like the Eminem rapping 8 Mile, you know?
Yeah, he just kind of leads with it, you know? But like with that said, it was wild to me to be in a game where, you know, I'm playing with guys who have hundreds of millions of dollars and they're hardcore Republicans, which whatever, that's not a value judgment. Their reasoning though, like the way that they would champion for Trump was always very shocking to me, because it was like I don't know the mental gymnastics you have to go through. I guess
is it like the David Sachs argument?
Go on.
Like the basically he's from All In Podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And like I guess like his main thing is that like you know, he's very business driven, right? And Trump is business driven, and he's going to keep the taxes low, and he's going to keep that's going to create growth and jobs, and if the Democrats get in, they're going to raise the taxes, and these companies are going to go overseas, and it's going to be terrible for the economy. And like, is that their stance? Or
no, because
which is interesting, because you think that's kind of where
I think that's a general Republican talking point, but I also think it's been like 30 years since we've really seen that enacted by either side.
Yeah.
Like, just generally speaking.
Well, Trump had the biggest tax cut for the top 1% in like a long time.
Yeah.
He was in office.
Totally fair. I guess I'm assuming all Republicans aren't the top 1%, is my point. So
right.
When I say it's a general talking point, I'm saying like I'm encompassing all.
But
yes,
they're not. But the people that you're talking about,
I'm talking about, yes. So deep down, I think that's probably a lot of what's motivating them. Mm-hmm. But it was just a general like appreciation and like of him. Like they generally saw him, or at least this is what they vocalized. They generally saw him as a profound leader who carried all of these great characteristics to be president of the United States, to build relationships with foreign,
like from prior business success type stuff.
I don't think that
most people that meet and actually sit down and talk with Trump say they all say the same thing. He's like delightful, and he's like he's not what he's portrayed.
Right.
He's not this person that you see on the news.
Yeah, and I don't think that they were qualifying it necessarily with like, oh, for this reason or that. It was just more so like it was very clear that it was a disbelief in the other side, which I totally can get behind. But what I found to be so strange to me was the mental gymnastics you would have to go through to speak to his competency. Like that was the only thing that bugged me. It wasn't that people liked Trump or that they wanted Trump to be elected. It was that they felt he was competent.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously like I'm in a game where maybe one or two of us have trended on voting blue most of our lives. And I'm just constantly being put into a position to defend the Democratic side. And it's like, I don't have a defense. Like, I don't like these people. Like that's the weird thing to me. It's like, just because I tend to vote that way does not mean that I have a personal like or appreciation for them.
Feel like you're
and
in
their
a position to pick
competencies.
the lesser of two evils.
Generally.
That's what politics kind of like this is what like my personal issue is. Both sides are run based off attacks on the other one. That's how it works. Like that's why all of these ads and these campaigns are always like, they do this really bad, and because they do this, you should go the other way.
Yeah.
And it's the same for both sides. It's like, all right, like where's the side that's like, these are all of the good things, and like maybe they do some good things too, but like they never acknowledge the other good.
You're looking for the adult in the room?
It's just
good luck.
Bad versus bad.
Brother, that's you're speaking my language. So obviously, like yesterday for a lot of people was a catastrophe. For a lot of others, they're dancing on the graves of everybody that voted against their interest. And from my perspective, it's like, look, I recognize my privilege. I know that this election is not going to change my life one way or the other, and I'm going to move on with it. But I also think that it's pretty clear that the narrative that the world is burning if one side or the other wins is a bullshitty one that's very hyperbolic and very divisive in nature. So
that's what the ads all say. They literally all say like, you need to get this person out of the office because it will be hellfire on earth if they win.
It's fear-based. It's all fear-based. Fear-based gets people to the polls, though.
Clearly.
Right. So just a lighthearted tweet I put out. I said, no matter what your politics or who you voted for, you have to appreciate the fact that SNL is going to be fire for the next 4 years.
It's going to be so good.
How many roasts did you get? How many people attacked your character?
These are the responses
Here
I
we
got.
go.
Dork, fuck you.
Dork. Wow, let's bring back dork.
Lame ass take.
Twerk.
Go fucking fuck yourself. I won't watch. They probably won't be allowed to go to the show. Go fuck yourself. Let's see.
Tell them how you really feel.
I bet the tortoise is crying like a baby in the arms of his woman's boyfriend. That was pretty good.
Oh my god! But like this is like the base.
Listen, I'm gonna be fine too. Okay, like that's the thing. Like I understand my privilege as well, just like he said. And like you know what? I like I did I cry a little bit yesterday? yeah, but then I had to open up my my crypto portfolio to
You think freedom of speech
help
will
me get
last
through the night.
You think freedom of speech will last 4 years? Are you insane? These are different people. Are you insane? It won't be on the air 6 months. Don't you realize what we're about to become? Are you stupid? There's nothing to be any more criticism of Donald Trump. This is like Russia. This is a fascist regime. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself.
So you got it from both sides.
Jesus.
No, only one side. These are all people that are upset that Trump got elected.
Oh, I thought you were getting it from the other side too, saying that like
The only thing I got from the other side is take a stance, pussy.
yeah.
Who did you vote for?
What about the tortoise? What about the tortoise comment? That has to be. I think that
you
one was,
might have got it from both sides.
Yeah. I didn't look. I don't get shit.
But, like,
I don't read the comments. They can say whatever the hell they want.
It just doesn't like optically or personally feel that great when you're trying to pick a side that's trying to bully the other side into being the wrong ones.
Well, that's kind of like what this is. This is all coming full circle to. So a couple people quote tweeted it. One person said, "This is not comedy. The United States died today. You have no idea what misery is coming to this country." It's like, I'm 42. I've been through plenty of election cycles. I've heard this shit before.
Listen, we got through the first Trump term. We'll get through the second one.
Right. Like, you know, and the thing is like, do I have the utmost confidence in our leader? No, of course not. No one does. Even the side that's like happy that he won, none of the, I shouldn't say none of them, but the most reasonable of them are not out there triumphing that like we have the best politician imaginable in office right now. But I also understand the role of presidency. It's not, you know, it's largely a figurehead position. Yes, there's some power with it, but we also have checks and balances. Like we discussed this a lot yesterday where,
Not really.
I mean, it's hardly.
Not when he controls the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the judicial system. What checks and balances are left, Burke?
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on the conscience of those people that are the head of those houses, right? Like, it's not a foregone conclusion that they have to just
bow down to him.
Follow
Right.
blindly.
They don't have to fall blindly to
They haven't
idiotic
not
things.
done that yet. So
A lot
let's
of,
see.
I mean, look, a lot of his former cabinet and his VP and others like spoke out against him in
They
this
did.
race.
Yeah.
There should be some influence when it comes to the House and the Senate and stuff like that. So, like, look, am I a little nervous that, you know, maybe things get a little bit out of control because people are spineless and vote in their own self-interest rather than the best of the country? Sure.
Yeah. And look, I get what you're saying, and it is very true, right? It's never as bad as it seems like it's going to be, and it's never as good as it seems like it's going to be, whatever side you're on.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not. Like, you look at the other side, and the crypto bros and all these people saying that, like, oh, right, $1 million Bitcoin, let's go. Like, okay, relax. Like, it's going to do better than probably, you know, that would have if Kamala was in there. I mean, Trump is literally saying he's going to put it on the, you know, as a reserve currency. Whether he does or not, I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to build a wall too. Like,
Right, exactly. So like that's the thing. Like he says things, and like if it does, is he going to do it? I don't know. Is it going to be a little better? Probably going to be a little better.
Well,
is it going to be the greatest thing ever? Probably not.
It just seems like all of these sweeping statements are clearly fear driven, and then when you are simply pressed with the question
Emotions are at their highest peak
of
right now.
why or how, that part is just completely gone. Like someone says, this is the end of democracy as you know it. Okay, how? Right? Tell me how, tell me why, and like where do you have like the evidence to substantiate your claims versus just
it's just a slippery slope argument. That's all.
it's just a lot of this.
No, look, I don't want to be totally so dismissive because there is a lot that can change and for the negative, right?
But
But
so
the point
what?
is, what you're saying makes sense because it's not necessarily good faith. They're making a slippery slope argument where it's like, well, if you let the inmate run the asylum, then what you're going to be left with is pandemonium, right? And it's like, okay, as a generalization, that can potentially be true. But now to what you're saying, like, let's get specific. In what way can he burn the country to the ground? Well, you know, there is a real threat that World War III could happen under his term.
Couldn't it also happen under her term?
Of course,
Yes,
of
of
course.
But
We're just talking
that's my-
probabilities.
It's
right?
who do you want in charge when it does happen?
When shit goes down.
But that's
Right.
kind of my stance is like both talking points are attacking each other for the same point. Like, oh, if he's in charge, World War III is going to happen. If she's in charge, World War III is going to happen.
That's the nature of an election cycle, though, right? Like when it's all said and done, if you just tune in during the election cycle, it's too late to try to get any like real information out, because both sides are just trying to push their candidate at that point.
Exactly.
By any means necessary, right? Like there were some states where the Democrats forced RFK to stay on the ballot because the thought was that he would take votes away from Trump, right? And like that's good game theory, but it's also like pretty low when it comes to tactics. You know, but it's both sides just doing everything they can within their power of like what's legal and what's fair to get their candidates elected. So that comes with a lot of noise. The problem is that noise then gets echoed by society for the next 4 years, right? Like all of the fears and doubts and uncertainty that the Dems have when Trump gets elected get echoed time and time and time again now every time he fucks up. And this point by Vivek here I think is a very valid one, right? In that he's saying that exit polls demonstrated that threats to democracy was the top issue. Mainstream media thought that meant votes for Kamala, but it turns out it was exactly the opposite. Votes are rejecting censorship, lawfare, and dishonesty. And I think the perfect example of this was like a reply to my tweet that I put out about SNL. It's like you just try to like make the best of something and be a little light. And one of the replies I got was somebody just saying like white men, and somebody replying to it saying like, true, he's a rich white man, and you know many of the poor white folks will feel the effects soon enough. And I just replied and I said like respectfully, like I grew up dirt fucking poor. Like you don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
I grew up dirt fucking poor. I know exactly what it's like being in a Republican-led government as well as a Democratic-led government as a dirt poor individual. And let me tell you something. You just fucking stay dirt poor.
Yeah.
You know, when you're living off of the system, sure, any little movement one way or the other impacts you. If food stamps get cut by 10%, if these systems get cut by small margins, it fucking matters at the ground level.
Yeah.
You know, if you're only getting $400 a month instead of $5, or if there is no increase but the price of goods go up, like of course people are going to feel that at the lowest levels. But the issue is that wasn't how this was being framed. This was being framed as a race thing, right? Like this was being reframed as like a race bait type thing. So it's under the guise of economics that then turns into a race issue. And I think that like that's what Vivek pointed out is so much of the anti-woke movement showed up to the fucking polls.
They did.
They really did.
So many people are tired of discussing pronouns. They're tired of discussing all of or encapsulating all of the country's issues into something that affects like 1% of people.
I think that's kind of where the like biggest fault of both sides come in, is where those on one see the absolute worst of the other and they think if this side wins, this is what it will be like. And clearly the country is very non-woke, if you will.
Well, that's
the fear is like if they run, this will keep going.
Yeah, but I think that's why the Frenchman who fired hard on Trump, I think that's what he was speaking to with the quote unquote quiet vote. When you look at mainstream media, when you look at the largest discussion points on both sides and things of that nature, and also how they attack one another, it's all on the fringe, right? It's all on the fringe. The pros and cons of Trump are generally going to be centered around how he deals with the ultra rich, which we're talking sub 1% of the country, and how he deals with the undocumented immigrants. Again, we're talking about like a very small percentage of the country, right? When you look at Kamala's side, it's a lot of like transgender issues. It's a lot of the woke talking points, if you will. And again, like, it's advocating, and I think a lot of people can get behind that. Like, none of us are saying that everybody doesn't deserve their fair shake in life and don't deserve, the mutual respect that we all offer to one another. But it can't be a main talking point when we're talking about electing a president. You're just talking about fringe type of shit, and it evokes extreme emotion because for people in the middle, we're throwing our hands up saying, like, why do we no one cares. Talk about the 99% of the population that is going to be impacted by this person or that person, right?
Versus, like, what does this person do wrong that we can keep hammering down?
Right.
And it's very bully culture on both sides.
Exactly.
It's like,
And then when
I got bullied when I was younger.
Right.
I don't want to deal with this anymore.
So what happens is you end up muting the middle ground, right? The independents or the people that lean one way or the other slightly, but don't give a fuck about the fringe discussions, right? You just mute them. They see their way out because it's a fruitless endeavor to discuss these talking points. And now what you have is two extremes going at each other, and they're oil and vinegar, or they're oil and water rather, right? Like, you literally might have a small group of racists shouting at a small group of, like, progressive liberals.
Both sides are so rage bait heavy.
Yeah.
And it works.
And they're trying to sway the middle, and the middle just like gravitates ever so slightly one way or the other to whatever's more reasonable, right? It's like 4 years ago during a pandemic, while race tensions were extremely high, the George Floyd thing had just happened. There was a million reasons why the tone of the country shifted ever so slightly towards progression. Right. And now 4 years later,
shift right back.
Nothing has gotten better. And
people would claim things have gotten worse depending on who you ask.
Right. And for 4 years, we've now had this progressive narrative stuffed down our throats to a degree where, like, language is being policed and, freedom of speech. It's ironic that a lot of people were in my comments saying, like, oh, you think SNL is going to exist in 4 years? Freedom of speech is dead. It's like, I think that's exactly why we lost this election.
Right.
It's because people were afraid that freedom of speech
and it's so
would
funny
die.
like to what Landon says is like that's what the other side said, that like the Democrats are trying to get rid of freedom of speech. They're both screaming that freedom of speech is dead, but like it's gonna go move
and yet
on.
it rains on.
Hey, we're still talking.
Right. It's like
freely.
It's a very interesting social experiment, I think.
This country?
Man, if I've learned anything from my loss of election bets and all of these things, it's really interesting. It's really fun to sweat.
Welcome to my world, baby. Welcome to my world.
Like, well,
it doesn't lack drama.
It doesn't lack drama, and it really does feel like most of the markets reflect all or nothing kind of principles. And you see that in the sense of, like, yes, like I took Kamala plus 150 and I didn't hedge it because I thought I was getting 10% on a flip. And like, I thought that was a good number, clearly it wasn't the case. Trump
in
swept.
hindsight, you were getting raked over the coals.
Yeah, I was getting fleeced, and like, that's life. Like, I bet on a flip, it was not a flip. That's okay. Like, I lost, take the L, move on. I've taken many, will continue to take more. That's life. If you want to bet against me, you probably should, because I'm not good at these things. Anyways, it just feels like I did do well in like individual state bets.
Yeah.
But I think that's because those are more like
took all Trump.
All or nothing. I took her to win Maine. I took him to win Florida. And like with those odds and like those prices, it's like some people do emotionally react to I want my candidate to win, and I will put something down along those lines.
Trump at 90 cents seems like a steal now.
And
for Florida.
And people see the end result of this being like, okay, the clear statement of the nation was we need red needs to come back, and
orange, you mean?
Yeah, the orange man needs to come back. So it's just like when I had not the knowledge, I'm not sharp on this stuff, but everyone that I guess were polling or whatever was like, this is a close race. It seems like very flippy. Clearly that wasn't the case. But then now Monday morning quarterback, it's of course Trump was going to win.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I wasn't betting that he wasn't going to win. I just thought I was getting 10% on the margins, and that seemed pretty good to me for a number that I can risk that's not going to change my life if I lose.
I was pretty sure that the country was ready to shift one way or another. I just wasn't sure which way it was going to go. That's what I said yesterday. I said, listen, like, this isn't going to be a nail biter. This is going to be a very decisive
You are very
win.
right.
Yeah.
You asked if anybody had any hot takes. That was your hot take,
Right.
and you definitely nailed it.
Yeah.
But does that mean that, I mean, in hindsight, that Trump won, does that mean that the bet was bad? Or does that mean it could have very clearly gone blue and...
No.
No.
This was a landslide.
Right. This was like the French guy. He saw the polls. He was able to
sharp.
decipher. He was sharp, and he understood that there was going to be a big shift, and he figured out which way it was going to go.
Right.
I was just saying that I think it's going to go one way or the other, and I wasn't sure which way.
Right.
Right.
Like for his bet to be good, your bet had to be bad.
Correct.
And there isn't a world where
both of us are
where
sharp.
both of you can be sharp. Correct.
I was
Yeah.
once again the whale.
I mean, you could bet like there's different there was a market. I'm pretty sure on Poly Market where like you can bet on how many like what the final electoral number was going to be of the winner. So you could like bet no that it was going to be very close.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you could bet like the nose on it's going to be 272 or something like that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's clearly going to be 315.
Right.
For Trump.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I lost money, but I learned many things in the process, and it was fun, That's...
Yeah. I'm curious to see like what the ultimate, like what the final tone is. It's weird because like, again, I think growing up, like, I think you start off pretty objective because you don't know anything. So you don't have a political alignment one way or the other. And then like your late teens, early 20s, like your formidable years, that's when you really pick a team and you fucking invest hard in it. And you're heavily emotionally invested, right? Like
that's the thing, is like the emotional side of it. It's like you're gonna keep looking for the stuff you want to look for.
So that's what I'm interested in, because now, far removed from that, like I'm pretty indifferent when it's all said and done. Like they're gonna pick a winner, shit's gonna move one way or the other, like whatever.
Something's gonna happen.
And I'm curious what the response will be from Kamala's side, because this was a bloodbath. It was an absolute landslide.
It was not close.
The way that she lost. And to me, what I see is that it's reflective of how low the tolerance is in America right now for a candidate like Kamala. And I don't mean a minority female.
Right.
I mean an established politician.
Right.
Right? Like
if the Democrats go out and they run the same kind of
campaign
next time, it's probably gonna be the same thing.
Right.
They didn't learn their lesson from Hillary, and they got lucky with Biden, so it allowed them to continue along that path.
Agreed.
So was Hillary the same kind of thing going on with as?
So
Hillary is the most establishment you could get.
Yeah, I talked about this with Brian.
More than Kamala.
I talked about this with Brian, and when I was like really indifferent of whether or not I wanted to vote, a lot of it came from the bad taste in my mouth from Hillary.
Yeah.
Like as a young impressionable kid, Bill was one of the most impactful presidents in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. Right. So that was the first president I ever voted for. And yeah,
you didn't vote for Clinton.
Second term.
No, he was 96.
2000, I thought.
No, 2000 was Gore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry, but Gore.
You're
Gore
right.
was the first one.
You're right.
But it was
Sorry,
he was an extension. He was an
Yeah.
extension of Trump because he was his VP.
An extension of Clinton.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
extension of Clinton. Yes.
Yeah.
Extension of Trump.
Right. You're right. For whatever reason, I was thinking we vote in high school, but we don't. It's your first year of college. Anyway, point is like Clinton was like that turn of my childhood president, and by all accounts, at the time he was perceived to be like one of the.
This is the first time you actually started paying attention to the president, to politics.
Yeah, because we're coming up on 18.
Right.
We're going to be voting soon.
Of course.
And things of that nature, right? So he was very impactful, and that just carried forward with the Clinton legacy, the Clinton name. And I told Brian, I was like, I felt duped after the fact. Mm-hmm. Like once Trump was elected, and over the next 4 years, the two sides kind of more willingly throwing Hillary under the bus because she didn't She didn't beat the orange man.
I don't remember much about politics back then, like 2016, but what I do remember is like the crooked Hillary meme.
Right.
That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. And the thing is that like when
All I remember.
when it came to this election, I was just like, I don't want to just blindly vote for Kamala because I felt duped doing that for Hillary. And literally, I knew that when I was voting for Hillary, it was just a vote against Trump.
Same.
It was just like I don't.
Same.
I'm indifferent to her, but I'm not indifferent to him.
This is kind of my personal hard like to grasp thoughts with politics. Like you're not voting for who you want. You're only voting for who you don't want.
It depends.
Not always.
It depends, right?
I happily voted for Obama.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Right, but
And in hindsight, the people I was voting against there, I would vote for 10 times over. In the most current elections, all three of the last elections, I would have voted for McCain or Romney.
This is kind of what I'm getting at, though, is like the last time you voted for someone you wanted was 2012.
Okay, but it was only 2 cycles
Which is
ago, or
strange.
3 cycles
It was
ago.
just strange you say that because like Romney and McCain were very, very establishment.
Sure.
But I get what you're saying.
But compared to what we're being offered.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm getting at is like in my comeuppance in politics, like 3 cycles ago is a long time. But
That's because you're young.
Yeah,
That's half your
this,
life.
But you think next cycle you're going to vote for somebody that you want to see or you don't
It
want?
depends on it
Depends who runs.
Right, it depends, right? Like a lot of times you get the better choice in the primaries, right? So it's just like
Right.
I got to vote for Bernie twice, and I was thrilled to vote for him, right? He didn't make it to the general, so now I'm left with a choice that I didn't want in the first place.
I also know
but
that
it was
like,
against somebody.
Yeah,
that
I also
was
know
worse.
that like I don't know that much, right? Like Vivek says a lot of things that I like too, but he could be a terrible politician. I don't fucking know. Same thing with Andrew Yang. It's like he said a lot of things that like resonated, and it was like, you know, maybe this guy has some like good innovative ideas, but he fell really fucking flat when it came time to actually be electable. So at the end of the day, I don't really give myself too much credibility or you know, leniency here when it comes to picking a winner.
The establishment machines are so strong, and I think that's such the appeal of Trump that he was able to break through that. He was able to like go against this giant Republican machine that's been churning for decades and just mow them all down. Right.
One final point with that, and this kind of doubles back to the minority vote. There was a very clear red flag for the Dems that they probably didn't anticipate, but probably not that big of a deal county wise or whatever. But Dearborn, Michigan, which is just a small county in Michigan, went Trump 45%. However, it went 33% Stein.
Oh, that's the Palestinian.
Correct.
That's the Palestinian very stronghold in Michigan.
Yeah. So there's a big Arabic community there.
Right.
And they were voting in droves against
They could not.
the Democrats.
They were not going to support Trump. All right. Very much so. They were either not going to vote or they were going to vote for Jill Stein. Jill Stein was there like nonstop saying, I'm going to end this war. I'm going to stop the genocide. And then they see Kamala, who's just basically saying that, like, you know, we back Israel and we will do everything for their right to defend themselves. And they were like, listen, we're not going to vote for you. And they didn't. And you see what happened.
Not only did they not vote for her, but they swung that vote to Stein.
Right.
Which was very, significant. Harris only got 15% of the vote.
15?
Yeah.
Incredible.
So Trump 45, Stein 33, Harris 15. That's something like, I mean, we saw it on the grand scale with Ross Perot, but we haven't seen an independent make any real waves since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that when you actually dig into like the real issues, you'll see pockets like this.
Yeah.
Where there are areas that are single voter issues, and they just go heavy against the even electable candidates.
When you remember or look back on like the 2012, maybe 2008 to 2004 political ads and campaigns, were they this like aggressive at attacking the other side?
They were starting to get. It was turning that way, especially with Obama.
It's
right.
It's also difficult to compare because social media wasn't the engine that it is now, right? Like you're just so inundated with it now, you can't turn it off.
And now
back then you could just not watch TV. Right?
With social media now, it just feels like the recurrence of rage bait is going to continue. Like I don't think that's going to go away.
I think what is impossible to go unnoticed is the impact that Elon had with X and Rogan had with his pod.
Yeah.
Trump cooked on his pod.
Young men came out.
I didn't even
in
watch
droves
it.
No,
for,
I just
for
mean like
Trump.
it got like 50 million plus. Like,
I don't know, but
massive amount
but the
of
point
viewership.
is that like she opted out.
Right.
She
Or, like-
completely opted out, and the irony was that the thought was that Facebook was involved in rigging the election in 2016, and that was all like very covert, right? Like the belief was a bunch of Russian money came in to support Trump. Whatever. Elon was out on the front lines. Somebody put out an interesting tweet yesterday and said, "Imagine if Jack had been tweeting nonstop 24/7 when he owned it."
Right.
Backing
Hillary.
Yeah, backing Hillary and doing
Yeah.
all those things. Like the entire platform would have burned to the ground.
Right.
The difference is that we think Elon has a higher degree of competency, and people expect there to be a method to the madness. So they're just okay with this level of support that borders on election interference.
Right.
So I think the reason I bring that up is not to condemn Elon and say like, oh, he
Rigged the election.
or anything like that. It's more so to highlight the fact that these platforms are going to be the most impactful thing that we see, at least in the next couple of cycles.
And where I guess I'm going to want to add on to this is the right that wanted Trump to win, or with Elon, said like free speech is protected that he won, and the left is saying free speech is destroyed because he won.
Correct.
It's like, how is that possible?
And the same thing would have been echoed had it been the inverse.
Yeah.
Like the left would have said,
Like, we saved free speech, and the
right.
right is like, we're cooked.
right. And I think if you zoom out, what's actually happening is mainstream media suffers way more with a Republican win here than they would with the Dem win, and social media platforms flourish a lot more with a Republican win than they would have with a Dem win. And maybe I'm being like a little exaggerated here with how much they suffer or flourish, but I think that that's the general takeaway here is mainstream media is kind of cooked.
And
I think so too.
it feels with the engagement of social media and the lower attention span, if you will, the short form like attention grabby stuff does so well. Like the memes that have happened because of this election are hilarious, and some of the ones that are happening now of like being able to use different words that might not have been allowed before because red won. Like there's some really funny stuff going on because of that, and that's what you remember.
Yeah.
You don't remember all the other stuff. You remember
Right.
the things that make you laugh, and you're like, oh, like check this out, and you send it to your friends.
Who is consuming mainstream media outside of like
My mom.
your mom is like at the like she's the youngest person, right? Like
That's like
it's-
the tipping point.
Right. Yeah, it's basically just
I
like
gotta tell her to turn off the news all
the
the time.
baby boomer generation and above, and that that's like when's the last time you watched CNN? Have you ever watched CNN?
I tell my mom to turn it off when I'm at the house. I can't. I want to just like enjoy my time with her and not
Yeah.
have this thing in the back of the the living room just playing
Right.
things.
That's the thing. We go direct to the source. Our CNN now is Joe Rogan. It's Pat McAfee.
It's Twitter.
Whether it's
Right.
Instagram, you
It's
scroll,
Elon,
you scroll
right?
through
Like,
reels.
That's the thing is like, for better or for worse, just by tapping into Joe Rogan, you're going to get a direct conversation from Trump. You're going to get a direct conversation from Elon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the most impactful people in the world are going to give you 3 hours of their time.
It's funny because you'll hear like the older generation say these kids are getting their news from TikTok, and it's like, is that any worse than CNN?
No,
Right?
right. Of course not.
Yeah. Is that any worse than Fox News? Like, come on.
Right. If anything, it might be. Well, it could be worse depending on how it's curated.
Of course.
Because you could just get bombarded.
Right.
But at least at the end of the day, there's choice.
Yeah,
to some
the
degree.
long form podcast is like the greatest thing ever. It's just like you can you're literally gonna drill down into the details of what you're trying to understand.
Didn't Bernie go on Rogan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was great on it.
I
He was
remember
great on
being
it.
really good.
Rogan was a Bernie bro.
He was after Bernie came on. He was just like, I'm probably gonna vote for Bernie. Like,
Yeah.
if I had to support somebody, I would support Bernie. Like he went, and that's it right there, right? That's like a microcosm of what happened. Joe Rogan went from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump.
Same thing.
What
with
happened?
Same thing with Elon,
Right?
Not that he was a Bernie bro,
No, but he was
like,
a registered
he was a Dem.
Democrat.
Yeah. And I think that represents.
Tulsi Gabbard, another one.
I was just about to say, I wouldn't be shocked if they run her post-Trump, which I think would be.
I think JD is probably going to be locked in there.
If so, again,
I mean, there'll be a primary. There'll be a primary.
Sure,
and we'll see what happens.
But I guess my point is, like, if you choose either one, you're basically going anti-Trump. Like, you're pretty established here with both of them. I think Tulsi is like very different than JD.
Yeah.
She's more of a war hawk. He's just more.
No.
I thought she was.
No, she's super anti-war.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought she was like
anti-war.
Maybe I'm mistaking her with somebody else.
Oh yeah, you're Nikki Haley.
Oh yeah, because they were kind of
right.
They kind of came into the spotlight at the same time.
Tulsi Gabbard ran for. She ran Dem. She ran Dem. She ran Dem. She supported Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I remember all that.
And then she ended up going all the way to Trump.
That is kind of wild. Like,
they call it the horseshoe. They call it the horseshoe. It's like you're here, and then like you seem like you're very far away, but like you get like this, and somehow you're close.
Very
right?
close. Yeah.
That's what's kind of interesting about all of it. You know, is you can. When you don't like something from one, it's very easy to swing to the other because you don't like that specific thing about the one. Then you hammer it.
When you're on the opposite ends of something, you end up being closer than you think you are.
Not just that, but at the end of the day, like most people, the vast majority of people are single issue voters, whether they want to admit to it or not. We're just not educated enough to be a multi-issue type of collective.
Maybe, yeah.
And you know. I'm using myself as a bit of a barometer because I probably care slightly more than the average person, but definitely not as much as somebody knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and I'm like somewhere in the middle of the bell curve distribution, that means that there's a whole fuck ton of people that know less and a whole fuck ton of people who don't know much more.
Right.
Right. And if that's the case, then it's just like, yeah, you're basically just participating in a popularity contest of who you think is the most reasonable human. Because by no stretch, I probably, I don't know, man. I'm a bigger novice in politics than maybe something that like I have little to no interest in, like tiddlywinks. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make with that is that like if you tested me on my political knowledge versus sports knowledge, my sports knowledge is going to be 100x, and that has absolutely nothing to do with bettering our country or my life or anything along those lines. It's just an interest of mine. It's a passion of mine.
Right.
I would assume that it's a very low percentage of people in the United States that have that same knowledge and passion towards politics. And if that's the case, you largely have an uneducated voting group.
Yeah.
Right. So you get sharp. You get sharp on a single issue. You know, you get sharp on a single issue. You take a hard stance on that issue. And, you know, going all the way back to like the guys that I brush elbows with in the big game, a lot of it is just that. They're very sharp on a single issue, and then they try to be they try to blend that now with
else.
Dozens of other issues, and it just becomes a false equivalency over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it turns into a shouting match because it's like, well, what you're saying doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because I'm not sharp on what I'm saying. I was only sharp on this one single issue, but I'm going to tell you all 100 other reasons why this is my guy.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever. Like that's just that's the world we live in, you know?
I do. This is the world we live in, Burke.
All right. I hope that this conversation went better than
I think it went pretty well.
I hope so.
For all intents and purposes.
I don't know. Leave your comments.
I'm sure we'll
Let
catch
us
some
know.
strays in the comments.
Well,
We'll get a few.
I'm pretty positive the comments are going to be like a lot of people angry from both sides, and someone's angry at someone leaving a comment, and then they're angry.
My sole goal
then
today,
they're
I meant to
angry.
lead with this, and I'm sorry that I didn't. My sole goal today was to piss both sides off so badly that I'm a man with no country.
It's very easy. It's very easy to do that, and it's just take the middle of the road, right?
Right.
You piss them both off. It's just like well, how can you not be outraged and how can you not be elated, right? So it's just like
I think we did a fair job because I'm very confident nobody will listen to this that voted for Trump and be like, oh, I like what Berkey has to say.
I think,
and I'm also very confident that anybody that voted for Kamala is going to string me up by my heels because I'm not more outraged at the end result.
I think people, and maybe myself included, are surprised at my lack of meltdown. People were texting me like, "Are you okay, bro? Like, you gonna survive?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be okay." And it's just like, I think it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just numb to everything. It's that I know we've been through this before.
To me, it just felt worse the first time.
My outrage, like 8 years ago, like that, like was way different than what it is now. And it's just like, I things didn't go the way I wanted them to go, but I know that the world is going to survive.
I just kind of have the same
and we're
response.
going to learn from it, and we're going to get better.
I just kind of have the same response both times, where it's like I'm just very astonished that people see him as competent enough to elect. That's my only shock.
Right.
It's not that people vote for him, I guess, on the margins or anything along those lines. It just strictly boils down to competency.
I think it's like what you said, where it's more of they think it's a figurehead, and there's gonna be enough people around him that can run the country. And they said the same thing about Kamala. It's like, there's gonna be all the other the establishment is gonna be behind the scenes.
To be totally fair, to this day, I don't know how good of a politician Obama was. But the motherfucker was charming. I voted for his charisma.
He was an amazing communicator.
Right. I voted. I strictly voted for his charisma.
He had the sauce.
He has the sauce, bro. Like, there's no speech that man will give that I won't listen to.
Right.
It's the equivalent of a Goggins getting up there. And I said this yesterday too, and I firmly believe it. If it were The Rock running in place of Trump, he would have won in a landslide too. I'm not kidding. I truly would have bet on Dwayne The Rock Johnson in a presidential election versus Kamala. I'm not kidding because I just don't think.
What if it was The Rock versus Trump? Because that's how it probably would go. I'm sure he's left.
I don't think.
Oh yeah.
I don't think.
Really? Because everyone was saying that he should run on the Democratic side.
I mean, it's the same as Trump. Trump was a Dem for 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
Like I think for both of them.
Listen, I'm just talking out my ass. I don't follow the politics of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So
I would love to see it. I would like to see The Rock versus everybody.
I mean, I'm just saying he's a very wealthy, pickup driving, fishing, bass, backwoods kind of guy. I think he has a lot of appeal to the right.
Yeah.
But with both of them, I think that they would just run on whichever platform gave them the opportunity.
True.
I think if Trump could have ran Dem, he would have ran Dem. Right?
Wouldn't that be where there's an alternative universe where he was just on the Democratic side and all the Dems were loving him?
Go back and watch old SNLs.
Oh yeah.
When he first hosted, they joked about him running on the Democratic platform.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was a long-standing thing.
He voted Democratic. I think he might have been registered as a Democrat at some point. Yeah,
for sure,
right.
For sure.
He gave a lot of money.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is like, regardless of how The Rock would run, he's not Cuban. Cuban is firmly
Mark Cuban. Yeah,
yeah. He's staunchly in the Democratic side. So like, if you were to run, you would know what platform. I think The Rock has appeal going both ways. Whole point is that. And this is the last thing I'll say. We'll button up the issue. But the whole point that I'm trying to make with that statement is that had he run, I think he would have gotten a similar turnout because of the incentives that were driving that turnout.
Yeah.
Right? What made people compelled to vote for Trump had absolutely nothing to do with Trump, the human being. It had absolutely nothing to do with his policy, or very little to do with his policy. It had everything to do with his celebrity, his likability, and the fact that he was anti the other side. Right? It was so much more of a vote and a fuck you against the establishment than it was like a vote for anything that Trump is really running or campaigning.
You hate all this shit, I'm your guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the swamp was never drained.
Right.
But like, you can still run on that platform because it's a cool narrative. And people like that idea of like, he's going to get the corruption out of politics.
Right.
It's like, well, he's not, but like,
sounds nice.
Let's give it a whirl.
Right.
Man.
All right, let's wrap this thing. We got half of Wardrobe Wednesday. The boys.
3/4.
Oh, 3/4? Guapa's dressed to the nine?
Yeah, I'm in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you run us
You know
down?
what? Here, I'll go first. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Get the camera back on me. Look at this. All right. This is what we call post-election New MAGA world. I don't give a fuck, so I'm wearing my Target chic.
Nice.
Some would also say athleisure.
Yeah, I'm comfortable as fuck.
This outfit.
I didn't have it in me to fucking dress up this morning, Berg. Sorry. Wasn't going to happen.
This outfit screams.
I would have been so good, though, if she won and then he came back in his Halloween costume.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
He should have done that anyway.
Actually, I know, right.
Support
yeah.
America.
Right.
Your outfit's hurting a little bit.
It's not, I mean.
The socks are brutal.
I know. I did it on purpose.
The socks are fucking brutal.
Listen, it was 4 a.m. when I was up. I couldn't. It was dark as shit. I just grabbed a pair. I didn't care.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
The tone of the whole outfit is like it's okay, but it's kind of like, it's uncertain.
Wait a second.
Right.
There we go.
Right. Yeah.
Now we're talking.
See, it does
Let's go.
It does tie everything in.
There's just like there's a lot of uncertainty going on here, right? Like we got an olive hoodie with a navy shirt that could possibly go.
An all navy shirt. It's not navy.
Well, I gotta tell you,
it's gray.
In the screen, it's navy.
I know you gotta fix this color on your screen.
Even if it's
gray.
If it's a charcoal,
in a different shade of green.
If it's a charcoal with an olive and then a heather heather gray.
You're not digging the blue socks.
This one isn't for me.
All right.
You went green, charcoal, heather gray, black shoes, blue socks. We got a lot going on here.
I did my best. This is the best I could do.
It's not really all coming from the same color palette,
Yeah.
It's okay to not be monotone, but let's at least get some gradient here.
I'll take some notes for next Wednesday.
Okay, yeah. All right, go ahead, Guap.
All right, sure. So I call this look, guys.
The freebie?
No, I call this the fashion.
You changed?
I call this the fashion mullet.
Hold on a second.
Fashion
Wait, you actually took the time to wear all of this and then you changed out of it?
Yeah, I got to be comfortable, bro.
See, you get me. You get me.
All right, so back to my breakdown. I call this the fashion mullet. Business casual up top, kind of a party downstairs. Second. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Look at that watch.
I'm a little accessorized here. I'm wearing the Breitling Endurance Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Those half-carat earrings you see, did I pay $699 for those?
No, you did not.
Or $6.99 from Claire's?
What's in a
I'll
decimal?
let you decide. And I finished off the ensemble with the Nike Pandas.
Panda. Those shoes have gotten a lot of fucking shit.
I'm listening.
On the internet. Saw a lot of TikToks where
they're made from actual pandas.
They're not made from actual pandas. Actual pandas don't exist. Believe it or not.
They don't?
Nope, made up creature.
Like the bird?
They're just dogs.
Wait, so what's the feedback?
They're not bussing.
Oh.
They're not cooking for real.
Shoot. Okay.
I have a pair of, I don't know if they're pandas, but they're the high top version of that.
Okay.
And I got a little self-conscious when I saw all the Zoomers making fun of it. I guess they're just basic, They're a very common shoe. You look great, Guap. Did you have a button down underneath the sweater, or was it just the sweater?
I did. I went with a little bit of a layered look there.
Okay. Yeah. The layers are in. It's fall. I like what we got going on there. Very preppy, if you will. You don't strike me very preppy, but
no,
it's a preppy look.
I was going for a look.
It's a first date kind of look.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, you did great.
There
Landon?
he is.
Well, this is your idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to talk about it?
Please.
This whole bit's yours, bro. Take it
man,
away.
I looked at the things that I had at a significant other's place and put this together before coming here at 8 a.m.
I find it funny that you went the long route of saying significant other instead of girlfriend.
Yeah. You're not there yet?
Maybe it's not official yet.
No, it is.
Okay.
Even if it's not.
Why?
How are those labels different?
Yeah.
What is different?
Your attitude.
Okay. No one's going to get that reference.
Oh, they should by now.
I look like I'm ready to go vote.
Can I be honest?
You can say whatever you want.
I mean this with love. This outfit's a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. It's very wrinkly.
You got a wrinkled shirt.
Yep.
You got flood pants on.
I was not prepared for this Wednesday.
You got sneakers with I'm just not sure what we're going for here. We got like
I was 8 a.m.
business up
tired.
top, casual at the bottom.
What do you mean? These are pants.
Yeah, they're pants. You're right, they are pants.
They're casual pants.
No, they're not.
What are they?
I don't know.
They're-
They're paid
Are they
jeans.
slacks or are they jeans?
No, are they jeans?
What kind of material are they? Hold on a sec.
They're kind of nice.
Are they
Soft.
denim? No, they're
I
probably
think they're jeans.
they're like
Are they
chinos,
jeans?
right?
What are they? The turtle was confused as well.
They're chinos,
What
Brian.
are-
It's a very weird cloth.
Okay, yeah. He's wearing
I
like
don't know.
he's wearing like slacks, right?
Yeah, but no, I don't know. They're like
They're chinos.
strange.
Are they denim?
No. They're not
Okay,
denim.
so then they're a pant.
Yeah, but they're not like a nice like a Docker, like like that kind of material. They're not that either. They're like a cross between that and like sweatpants.
They're not sweatpants. That's
They're
for sure.
definitely not
I'm wearing
sweatpants,
a
but they're
belt.
Right. He's wearing a belt. They're a pant.
they're not hard pants, if you will.
Okay, but they're a pant.
It is a pant.
My point is he's kind of like somewhere between business and casual, and it's giving sloppy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
That's
right,
okay.
all right, The Rock.
The Rock's cooking right now.
I think this
I like
outfit
that.
comes
I
together
like that.
very well.
I like that shirt.
I'm sure you do.
I like
does.
the boots.
Thank you.
I did say I liked your shoes when you
Now, I
walked
do
in.
have a question in
Yeah.
regards to the cuff. Now, is this because the pants are too long, or is this a fashion choice here?
The pants are too long. I just got them. I haven't had them hemmed yet.
Okay.
I have very short legs.
So otherwise, you would go no cuff.
I would go no cuff. However, with boots, I think cuff is okay.
Yeah, I don't mind the cuff.
Yeah, I think if I were to only ever wear these pants with these boots, I would just keep the cuff. But I'll probably wear these pants otherwise. And I don't think what Landon's doing, I don't think is okay. The cuff with bare ankle, I think, is sloppy. Personally, not to pick, but that's.
He's rage baiting me, and that's fine.
I'm not rage baiting.
Landon
Listen,
is not
we
happy.
talked about this.
He can say whatever he wants.
I personally take a lot of pride in fashion. I didn't have clothes growing up, and I was always very envious of people who could dress nicely.
That makes one of us.
So I care about this type of stuff, and I've put a little bit. I know more about fashion than I do politics. That's abundantly clear.
As do I. I even shaved today. So
Look at this.
You shave like every day before the
Look
show.
at this.
What is what's a worse? What's
That
worse?
is such a
Which
P.
outfit
Diddy
is worse,
pose.
mine or Landon's?
Honestly,
Honestly,
Landon's.
wow.
I was trying to give him a win there. It backfired. That's okay. Sometimes you cook and sometimes you burn.
No.
you know?
Listen. It's not that his outfit can't outperform yours. It can. Just as it's being presented currently, I think it's disheveled. I'm not trying to shit on him, man. I thought that was the point of this bit. I'm sorry.
Don't speak to him.
He's gonna cry.
Just don't look at him.
It's like he got drunk at a wedding and showed up to the podcast afterwards. You know, he looks like a wedding crasher.
You live, you learn. You know, we'll try harder next Wednesday. Both of us.
I'm just mad that I'm the only one to put any fucking. Oh no, sorry, Guapo. I don't mean to sell you short.
Guapo found stuff in his car.
I'm looking at
He
Guapo
really
in a
did.
free sweatshirt right
Yeah,
now, so
right.
it's
Yeah,
tough
yeah,
for me
yeah.
to remember that he
Right.
showed up in a real outfit.
It
But
sounds like this is your bit
I think
now,
I-
man.
I was 20 minutes late because I'm combing through my
I would-
closet. I'm like,
I
I would have wear this.
I would not dismiss
or
the
this.
effort of a young Landon Tice right now.
No.
I did put effort into it.
I
It just didn't
totally
succeed.
agree.
That
I
happened.
totally agree.
Right.
I'm not trying to shit on
like
him.
like
Yes.
the Yankees. They tried to win the World Series. They just didn't. Right. It's that kind of situation.
Like, look, a different.
As I'm in this outfit right now, just talking shit.
a different shoe, your shirt tucked in, and some suit socks, like actual like dress socks.
But maybe disheveled is the look.
No, not with a solid
Man,
shirt like
this
that.
was on the floor because it needs to go in the laundry.
I see.
Look, that's not better. This was your fucking idea, man.
Hey, man, I was playing poker last night.
You can give
And
me
then
all the
I
excuses.
went to my girlfriend's house, who I love, and then I found this.
We took it to a whole nother level
and then I
now.
found this outfit in the corner of the
It
room.
went from my kind of sort of like maybe a significant
some-
other to my girlfriend who I love.
Some things don't need to be said on air.
Well, they were.
Well, they're out there now, buddy.
Congratulations to both.
All
I'm very happy.
Meaning that
All I'm
truly
saying
and
is that this bit was your idea.
Yeah, man. And sometimes there's an election, and then I was gambling, and then I didn't.
You look like a man who lost $10,000.
I did. I lost 5,000. I lost more than that yesterday.
I'm hearing a bunch of excuses. I can't be responsible for this. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be back tomorrow, noon Pacific. I think we're going to try to get Andrew Barber on. We tried to get him today, but unfortunately the timing didn't work out. So we're going to aim for tomorrow. We're also going to get back to a lot more poker talk. I have some things I want to discuss with him that are not politics related, so that's a good thing. And then Friday, we're going to be joined by Matt Hunt doing our normal strat chat. We're going to try to get Marley in here over the next 2 days also, if possible. She's in town and would love to hear her thoughts. So that's going to do it for us. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please tune in for the rest of the week. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see you guys all tomorrow.
Peace.
Peace.